Can you tell me where?
Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite para todos. Meu nome é Chapman Barbosa, eu sou compositor multi-instrumentista, formado no curso técnico de guitarra do Conservatório Brasileiro de Música e no momento eu sou graduando na Escola de Música da FRJ em composição musical. Eu fui convidado pela Progland para entrevistar o compositor Markus Reuter, que é um músico integrante do grupo Stickman. Ele é envolvido com projetos relacionados à música do King Crimson, música ambiente, entre outros gêneros musicais. A principal razão de eu estar aqui é justamente eu também estar começando uma jornada com os instrumentos Touch Style, né? Esse daqui, especificamente, é uma Pascalis SN12, criada pelo grande Alexandre Pascalis. Um grande abraço e um eterno agradecimento a ele por ter feito esse instrumento para mim. E os instrumentos Touch Style, eles são da mesma família do Chapman Stick, War Guitar, Mobius Megatar, que esses instrumentos a gente cria o som deles, ao invés de dedilhar como o violão ou a guitarra, a gente utiliza a técnica de two-handed tapping, ou seja, as duas mãos vão atacar as cordas no instrumento. Dessa forma, assim. E esse jeito de tocar, ele acaba proporcionando mais possibilidades sonoras, ou possibilidades sonoras diferentes, relacionadas a outros instrumentos de corda. E o Markus, ele é um especialista nessa técnica, da qual ele começou a partir do Guitarcraft, né, que é o grupo fundado pelo Robert Fripp. O Markus conheceu o Chapman Stick, e desde o Chapman Stick até os dias de hoje, ele desenvolveu desenvolveu a técnica do touch style numa perspectiva que foge um pouco à literatura que existe desse instrumento. Ele utiliza uma touch guitar E8, né, que é uma guitarra de touch style com 8 cordas, que ele contribuiu para o design. E a gente vai falar sobre porquê esse design, né, por conta, como é que se diz, a afinação desses instrumentos. Aqui no meu caso, eu tenho 12 cordas. Eu tenho essas cordas daqui, onde está o meu dedo, são cordas afinadas em quintas que vão nessa direção, para mim, do mais grave pro mais agudo. E eu tenho essas cordas daqui, que elas vão daqui para cá em quartas, né? Então vocês já imaginam que isso pode dar uma certa nó na cabeça para algumas pessoas, incluindo eu. E no caso da Touch Guitar E8, é uma guitarra de 8 cordas, do qual ela toda, do grave para o agudo, nessa direção, é afinada em quintas. Então isso a gente também vai conversar sobre o que realmente há de importante nisso tudo para ajudar na expressividade do músico, né? A gente vai falar como isso influencia, né, nos projetos atuais deles, com o Stickman, o Touch Circle, que é o grupo de estudos que o Markus fundou. E a gente vai ver, basicamente, não só a parte da técnica, mas também a perspectiva dessa expressividade do artista dentro de uma sociedade, uma comunidade, seja essa especializada em música ou não, como é que a gente compartilha a nossa própria expressividade. Então, foi realmente um grande prazer de conversar com o Markus. Eu agradeço imensamente pelo convite da Progland. Agradeço também o Alexandre Pascal, o Jorge Pescara também, que duas pessoas que me ajudam bastante para eu desenvolver uma pesquisa relacionada a esse instrumento. E espero que realmente seja tão satisfatório ouvir a entrevista como foi satisfatório para mim de ter conversado com o Markus. Deixarei disponível as minhas redes sociais. Eu pretendo movimentar esse ano com trabalhos relacionados ao touchstyle, além de trilhas sonoras que eu já faço para outras mídias, como por exemplo as obras da produtora Deslegendary Pictures, a Ludomancy Studio, entre outros. Então, muito obrigado e espero que vocês tenham um bom vídeo.
Recording started now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you very much for being here. It's really a pleasure that you took your time to speak to us. And wow, how can I begin our interview? We want to ask you about the recent album from the Stickman, Brutal, and we want to. Where came the idea from being just a EP than a full album from Brutal?
So, the last short album we did was also only an EP, it was called Tentacles.
Mm-hmm.
And so after Tentacles, which was recorded during the COVID years, or the first COVID year, I think, we wanted to make a full album, right? But for some reason, it came together very slowly. So we were writing and, passing files along very, very slowly. So when we did last year, when we decided to put something out, we thought it would make more sense to actually have something very special, and with the brutal being the main track on the album, that is not going to be on the next album. The next album is going to be also, like, the title of the new album is going to be a big surprise for people. I think it's a big surprise. I'm surprised myself about it. So basically, we just decided, okay, we have this material ready, and we had basically all the pieces already started, but not finished the mixing and everything. So we decided to put out an EP, and I had some ideas to make these, to turn the Brutal track into a sort of campaign where people could contribute their own voices, and there are like 35 versions. I don't know if you know that. There are 35 versions of the piece.
Oh, I didn't know that.
with different guest voices. So and it's sort of like, kind of continuing the tradition that, maybe in the 90s, King Crimson started this tradition to have sort of like a preview of work in progress, like the Vroom Vroom EP, which then became the Thrack EP. And so we're doing something similar now with Brutal and the upcoming album.
Oh, no, I see. And that kind of relates to next question, because it kind of shows a bit of your compositional process in the Stickman. And you want to hear more about this composition process, if there is any album that you had more work with it, because a common perception from the Stickman music is like there's a bass that was composed, and the rest are all great parts of the songs about improvisation, and we'd like to hear about that more.
No, like really the Stickman pieces, they're really mostly written actually. So it's the other way around. But recently, like especially starting with Progland, which already is 10 years now that it was released, but I started like a concept of recording first takes. So whenever there's like a solo or a lead part or something that is more like of an atmospheric part, I usually play it once and commit to it, and it's the one. And so, for example, the piece Schattenhaft, which has become a piece we played a lot live, the actual melody in that piece, that's one of the instances where the melody was improvised during the recording and stayed the same for the album, and then actually, when you listen to the album version, you can hear it's much more free than the way I played it live. So yes, sometimes it goes that way, but more generally, it's either that Tony comes with an idea or I come with an idea, and then we kind of like fill in the gaps of the other person's idea. So it's really true collaboration, the compositions, and also with the drum parts. Sometimes with like the pieces that have like really complicated rhythms, I sort of like suggest some sort of drum pattern, and I give Pat like a kick and snare kind of thing, but he never does that. He never plays that.
It's amazing.
Yes. It's funny. Like sometimes I have like this. There's one piece on the new album which is really, really complicated rhythm, right? And I was thinking it to be like a kind of a very square kind of strange kind of like European style prog kind of thing, and Pat put a shuffle thing under it, so completely different.
Yeah, it really breaks the rhythm very well about that.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's really characteristic. Even hearing brutal these days, there's a lot of the polyrhythms that kind of. I mean, you can. I'm a musician, also a composer, so I could have some perception about that. They're very controlled polyrhythm, but at the same time, it's really freely about this. It's not it's strictly in a bit metronome in a kind of sense, a perception of the listener.
Yes. Yeah. You see the idea there is that usually with these rhythms we also go by the melody. So the melody informs the rhythm. So maybe the original idea is to have a piece, the fandango is the one of the pieces on it, which has can't remember now, is it 13 or 15 or something? I don't even remember now, but it actually comes from the melody, right? And then there are like variations of the melody where at the end maybe we add a beat or we take a beat away, and everything is kind of free in that way to kind of fix the rhythm to the melody and not the other way around. So which is kind of surprising to a lot of people, but really for me and also for Tony, the music is about the melody, and so that's how Pat has to kind of adapt to the rhythm of the melody rather than a fixed pattern usually.
Yeah, I see. Oh, it's amazing seeing this process. And speaking more about composition process, from your own perspective, there's a question here that we want to ask. I know it sounds a little bit specific, but well, there's about your album, Falling for Ascension. That you revisited some compositions from your teenage years, and you worked with art rock, classical contemporary music, and we would like to hear more about this translation of ideas, because especially for this album, but when you're speaking about brutal, it's something that at least when I hear in music, I can perceive that, the Markus from 15 years, 10 years, there's something consistent about this, your playing. And well, I would love to hear more about this album.
Yeah, so Falling for Ascension, the musical themes, were from when I was maybe 14 years old or something. And I remember that I developed one of the themes, which is, so there's, because you were talking of contemporary classical, so there's a 12-tone row, which is the album is based on, and on a rhythm that you can hear in the last piece, Unconditional. That's sort of like those two things. So that rhythm and the 12 tones note row, they make the material for the whole album. And So the tone row I developed with my piano teacher when I was 12, 13 years old or something. And the rhythm and basically the piece, even the melody of Unconditional, I was writing on an Atari ST computer, which was like a really great computer. And I got it in 1985, I think. And I had this, I don't remember the name of the program, but I could, with the mouse, I could put the notes into a score, and that's how I composed that piece. And those pieces, they were always in the back of my mind, because for me, music and pitch collections and tone rows, they have a certain vibe, certain character, let's say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so so sometimes just in my musical life, I come across a situation where I feel, okay, now I have the feeling. So, and when I had the idea to do this recording with the 4 players of Sonar and my friend Tobias Reber on doing electronics, I said, okay, these pieces from back then, from a long time ago, they are ideal for this composition, because I wanted that vibe. And so it was really, and I think it's very important for everybody who is like artistic, to always remember the old ideas, to carry them over because the reason why you haven't used them, I think, or why one hasn't used them, is because it's not been the right time. But that also means that at some point the right time will come.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why that album is sort of like a really kind of bizarre, I think for me, like a bizarre mixture of these odd rhythms, but with a rhythm in 4/4 that everything's based on, and also with the idea that all the elements in the music, both harmonic and rhythmic materials, they can work in any combination. So there's everything can work at any time. And so in the recording session, I was basically conducting and instructing and conducting the musicians, saying, okay, now we're going to do a version at this tempo. The drums play 5 and 4, and the guitars play, and the bass plays in 7, and the guitars play in whatever, 11 or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And then I also added an improvised element to it as well. So, but where in the improvisation, in my head, I was always following the tone row. So I was improvising, but I had to always pick the next note in the row. So that everything is very coherent in terms of the concept, And
Yeah.
that's what makes that record so unique, I think.
That's really unique. And when I hear this record, I don't know how much related, but for me, in a kind of perception, it kind of reminds from the Glenn Branca records, because it's so consistent in the bass. Glenn Branca read more about the punk rock bass kitchen, but these consistent rhythms, like you said, somehow remember here.
Yes. I know what you mean. I think it's really very much about sort of like the difference between the conceptual art, let's say, and purely music. Like I think that is really what the difference. Like Glenn Branca's like sound palette and things can be very different from what I do, but in terms of the consequence of the idea, let's say, right, with what it's very similar. I completely agree, and that's also why even like my musical influences are very diverse. So of course I have some Steve Reich influence and things like that, like minimal music of that kind, and I have like drone music, but also I have experimental drone music. I have experimental electronic music with my German heritage, with Karl-Heinz Stockhausen music, which I heard when I was very young. I heard the most experimental electronic music you can imagine, like So like for me, it was always about creating sound worlds, and also about taking responsibility to create something that not everybody may enjoy at first, but something that just offers a unique perspective. And like you guys with your prog channel, like prog was something actually very late for me. Like I discovered prog music when I was 18 years old or something, so very late.
Yeah, kind of late.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing because the prog rock in a kind of sense, you heard about, what can I say, historically before the prog rock, and the kind of how can I say, the foundation, it's like house and electronic music, electroacoustic music. It's really more about the foundation, and you're making your own interpretation about it, your expressivity in your music. And there's something I personally, this is I want to introduce something real quick.
Yeah.
This is an instrument, touch guitar instrument from Alexandre Pascalis. Here is let me see if I show you.
Oops. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna set up over here.
Yes.
But yeah, most of this instrument, I actually got part of inspiration from you, from the Touch Circle. In the pandemic, you made a series of videos with Sean Crowder, Sangeza's drummer, and that kind of sparked me something about your own technique and the history about touch style instruments. And I am trying to research about it more, and people actually ask me to talk with you more technique, something more specific. But I mean,
yes, for me it's okay. Whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, there is something kind of similar that I agree. I played guitar, bass before, and there's something that happens when you don't have a good foundation, the technique. You don't have so many tools to express yourself very well. And in that line of thought, I want to know more about how was this process from building your own methodology to teaching in the Touch Circle. Because when I research more about the style, I have the free hands book from Emma Chapman here. And when I get the free hands technique and guitar craft, I can see how embedded these things are in your technique, but you have your own take, especially about ergonomics. And that's something that actually saved me from this instrument. Because when you get the book from free hands, it's not any way to an attack to anybody. It's just and sometimes when you get this instrument, you have to learn from your body, from how to fit yourself in it. And I want to hear more about this process from you, since from your guitar craft years and to actual years in the Touch Circle.
Yes. Yeah. So I was going to the guitar craft courses before I started playing the stick. So and I actually spoke with Robert Fripp about the stick and about the technique in a meeting. I talked with him about it, and I was very motivated to try to make it work for myself. But when I got the instrument, I felt at the very beginning, that this is going to be a big challenge, because all the dreams about it, the way that you think it works, does not work in what you're dreaming in your mind is not the reality of the instrument. And then even like in the first few months, I met other players, and I realized that almost everybody was really bad I have to say. No, not bad in what they were able to play, but in a bad situation for making progress. Where it was possible, where I was seeing they have already reached the point where there's a limit and they can't really go further. And that was sort of like the inspiration for coming up with my completely own approach, where I basically took like what I had learned from Robert Fripp and also from my classical guitar studies, which I had done a few years. When I was 15, I started with classical guitar. So, and when I was 20, I started with a stick. So it was very important to start from the basics, to say how do I play a note? How do I start the note? How do I end the note? How do I play a loud note? How do I play a soft note? And that was the starting point of developing the technique. And really the technique I've arrived at now, or even the teaching system, let's say, even the teaching system that you've seen with Sean is very, the other Sean, not you,
Yeah.
is very different now, and it's super efficient, and it's so fascinatingly beautiful what this instrument offers. So in a way now, after 33 years of playing this instrument, I have arrived at a point where the original dreams about what it could be like. So when I first picked the stick up, I said, oh, wow, this is nothing like what I was thinking. But now, with my knowledge, it can be exactly what I was thinking. So if somebody starts now with my guidance, they can get the knowledge of over 30 years transferred to them in a few lessons even. Obviously, they need to do the work, of course, but the knowledge about how to build the relationship with the instrument, that just didn't exist in the early 90s, and now we have it.
Yeah, no, it's kind of it's really fantastic when you see the full series from Sean. His evolution from the start to the end, it's like amazing. Really
it's
amazing.
Absolutely incredible. Yes, and what I'm saying is that I have a new system now, which is even quicker. Like it's even more amazing in terms of getting quick results. Because I made a new discovery. This is so interesting that even after it was 25 years of playing, to make a completely new discovery, which has completely changed my own technique, even, and not just technique in terms of playing, but in techniques of how to get the music out, or how to get the music from inspiration to the sound, right, via the instrument. And it's really crazy that after so many years, like a qualitative shift like this can actually happen.
Yeah, there's an example that I would like to point to people. There was I don't know if I'm gonna pronounce it correctly in sometimes, but there is a magazine, Touch Style Quarterly, that you wrote in the. There's a column that I found from between 95 and 2000, Secrets of the Technique.
Yes.
And there's a concept that you worked with Sean, there's the family and the touch move release. In this article, you actually denominate this touch release move about tap and lift. And it's kind of funny because
yes.
I mean, it is something, when you analyze something like this, it's really the touch release move is about the foundation of this process, because it's like touching the string. You have this action that you're gonna lift your finger, then the release is gonna happen, and moving your hand. And I find this thing so beautiful, and philosophy that kind of resembles the primaries from the guitar crafts in a certain sense.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I didn't know about the classical guitar because
Mhm.
even though there's a suspicion, because when you spoke on the grandfather exercise, that
Mhm.
is kind of my mind always there's a barrier when I try this exercise. I do not dare to play it right now,
Mhm.
but
Mhm. Mhm.
really there's something. I have some introduction to guitar craft. That's why I could speak something about the primaries. But it's amazing how it really kind of resembles everything together. And you having this more perspective about this is great news to know. And
You know, the really the big difference is that the guitar is a traditional instrument, and even 50 years ago, even 60, even 100 years ago, it was already an instrument with tradition. So that's why, yeah, I don't need to mention names, but Segovia, or like these guys who had like this deep understanding, or the deepest understanding of the instrument, but which was truly based on a tradition. So in a way, everybody who has come before them has already created something that they could use. And when I came to the stick, to the touch instruments, there was no tradition like that. It wasn't there at all. So with Guitarcraft, it's based on the guitar tradition and the new things that Robert Fripp discovered and brought into it. And for me, like with the touch instrument, you had to start completely from the beginning because there was no tradition for it, and it really does not work like a guitar. Because like on the guitar, you can bring the energy in with one hand, and with the fretting hand, you don't have to create the energy for the note. And that is like the big difference, to learn to accelerate the fingers quickly. And that's why even though some of the exercises, let's say that of the family exercises, you could say, okay, it's a little bit like a primary in Guitarcraft, but it's not, because they fulfill a different reason. They have a different purpose. And but obviously, in the end, the overall purpose is to actually learn to play the instrument. So in that way, it is actually the same. Yeah.
I want to ask too, in the parts of the technique, even though there's many things about the physicality of the body, and something that I wanted to ask is about the shaping of the sound. It's like working around effects, and how do you approach this kind of, if you do teach this kind of thing, how do you approach this? And your own
Yes.
compositions in the education, music education.
Yes. So here's something that will blow your mind, that maybe you never thought about. Okay. So you make that sound with one finger, you hit the finger on the string, and the instrument starts vibrating. So what you need to do, like one of the first exercises after the family. So this is in the family. I never talked about this. Now I talk about this. The family is to feel the vibration of the instrument in your fingertip, because you're asking about sound, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is, like, you need your fingers. I mean, obviously you can hear the instrument even when it's acoustic, you can hear it when it's amplified. But what you need to do, you need to physically experience the vibration of the instrument with each finger. So you hit the string, it vibrates, and then you take your time in the touch position. You take the time to feel the vibration of the string. And so, like, why do I say this? Because if you didn't hit the string in the right position, or right after or behind the fret, right, then the note dies off quickly. So you can feel that the note doesn't have a good sound. So you're learning to feel what makes a good sound. So that's the first thing you can do, by experiencing the vibration of the instrument through your fingertip, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then now comes the answer to like the sound question. So once you have a good sound and your body can pick up the vibration of the instrument, the frequency of the vibration, then, and this is something that I hope you will have noticed with my playing, I can basically shape the sound of the note by jumping on the vibration, I'm kind of sort of like hijacking the vibration with my finger, and I can put my finger in a vibration that is the same as the vibration of the instrument, the same vibration of the note. And so that's how I can make the endless sustain. When I get the endless sustain, it's because I'm putting energy into the string. It's a very small movement. You don't see it from the outside. I kind of vibrate the fingertip in a way that adds to the vibration of the instrument, of the string. So that way I can push the note to last longer. I can make a note collapse. I can make a note have like kind of waves within it where it goes like this, with the vibrato. And it's the vibrato along the string, not like on a regular guitar where electric players, they would always do a vibrato like this. My vibrato is always like this, like on a violin, right? Mm-hmm. So, but what is sort of like really the underlying concept for getting the sound, no matter which effects you're putting, the sound is by being able to physically jump on the vibration of the string, and to being able to add to the vibration, so to make it stronger or to take it out. And that way I can do things like I can play things that are super staccato, or I can play things that sound like they played with a pick, like with one example is the frame by frame King Crimson thing, where it's like it's a very fast picked part, right? And in order to make that sound like it's picked on the touch instrument, you cannot do hammer-ons and pull-offs. It will sound wrong. So you have to attack each note in such a way and make it die. So the release happens immediately after the touch, and that way you can get this control of the sound of the notes. And that's the foundation. Foundation is to get the sound with your finger. And then obviously the second element that is very important is it's the volume pedal. So like what is between your instrument, and the amplification and the effects, right? Mm-hmm. So the volume pedal with an electric instrument, the volume pedal is always part of the instrument. Some players, they can do it, like electric guitar players, they do it with the fingers on the on the strat. You can roll the volume part with your pinky and things like that, right? On touch instrument, you can't do that because you want to have both hands on the fretboard, right? So that's why a volume pedal is very important for that. And then in terms of like the actual sound you're getting with your effects, there is basically nothing I can say about that, or I can say a lot about that. But it has to do with taste, right? So you have to develop sort of like a flavor, a taste for a certain flavor, and sort of understanding also how certain sounds work within the context of the music that you want to make, and really it's very much about that. Like the tools available are the same that everybody else that I use are the same that everybody else has. So would be a little bit of compression, overdrive, distortion, but usually I combine several distortion stages. So in a way, it will have like two overdrives, or and then also the drive on the amp will be up, or the input gain will be high on an amp, something like that, in order to get all the because of, like I said, the movement of the finger on the string is very subtle, very small movement. So in order to get that to translate into loud rock music, you need to amplify things a lot. And that's what I find is sort of like a really good way of making, good way of amplifying is not to amplify with one amplifier, but to use several stages, gain staging of amplification. And that's what I do. And then also, like, sometimes, like between the amplification or overdrive gain stages, there will be certain effects inserted, like simple things like an equalizer or filters of some sorts, or it could be really anything. I even have like a sound that has a delay before the distortion, before the fuzz and things like that, to get sort of like my really unique tone. I'm actually using the effects in a way that other people really don't do it, and that's kind of also part of the secret how to get the tones I get.
Man, it's such a deep level of thought, because I don't know how many people are gonna perceive that, but it's really,
It's not thought, really. It's not thought. It's practice.
Yeah,
because
practice.
I did it for such a long time, and always trying to find out. Also, like when we talk about the volume pedal, like the question is like where to put it. Like, do you put the volume pedal really before the amplification? You put it after the amplification? You put it after the delay, before the reverb, after the reverb?
Mhm.
Everything gives you different kinds of results. And since I also started out recording these ambient albums first, like my first solo releases were these ambient albums, I had to find a way to, with a really kind of like a noisy, like a electric guitar kind of instrument, always is noisy. It's normal,
Yeah.
right? It's normal. So to have to find a way to get both the expression and control over the envelope of the notes. So to say, okay, yes, how can I have a note that swells in slowly? How can I make a note that comes in immediately? Like everything that relates to the fingers, and then in addition to that, to the volume pedal also. And how to make sure that the reverb tails are clean and not noisy and things like that. That was at the beginning of my career. Those were the challenges.
Yeah, I totally see that right now for myself.
Yes.
Yeah, when I try, I totally understand the practice. It's because from people that usually don't work with this instrument, we're talking about a moment that happens in about, I don't know, it's kind of milliseconds, almost milliseconds, because the way you attack the string to sound like something, and to emulate a sound like you're saying in a violin. My reference is the fretless bass that I love, Jaco, Michael Manring. And when you try to emulate something about that, it's great to see your process about this. It's more about this more this expression that you're searching within the body and the sound, and you're trying to emulate.
Absolutely. And you can like what I said about the vibrato, right? That you can do with the finger. If you think about it, what's the difference usually between electric bass player and a fretless bass player? Is the vibrato, or is the so if you want to emulate a fretless bass player, obviously you need to emulate the sound of the vibrato and of the intonation. And with a touch instrument, that's why it's so amazing. You can do that. You can do that instantly. You can by pushing the string up or down, or even by pushing this, I mean along the string like this or this, or by pushing it down on the fret, you can create the illusion of a fretless bass.
Yeah.
I remember, because even in the first few years of playing the wah guitar, I came up with this way to make it sound like a fretless. There was a time when I played in a trio where I basically emulated a fretless bass for the whole show. And it just requires a certain pickup setting, let's say, and then a certain approach with the fingers to make it work. And it will obviously never be the same as a fretless bass, but yes, there are ways to kind of adopt the articulation. Yes.
Yeah, when adding some filters to help a little bit more. I don't know, something I'm trying to find my own way also about this.
Of course.
It's it is interesting, the craft, in the sense of the craft. And I'd love to hear more about this new approach. If you could speak about this, or what are the sections that you're finding some breakthroughs in your own technique, and how do you want to approach in this? For example, in the new album from the Stickman, also.
Yes, I mean, like really in the music that I make, I don't really consider technique much. Like when I make music, I just play. I just try to play, and I think the way that my training, let's say, finds its way into the music is simply by applying things. So I play something I want to play. I don't think about it much anymore. For me, it's about finding, letting my body find new melodies and note combinations that sound exciting to me, that are not boring to me, let's say, right? So, and my technique is advanced enough so that I can do that. So I don't really need to worry about that at all. Also, like when I play a show, I don't need to warm up anymore. And I can play the most complicated, fast thing without warming up. It's really fascinating. But it's just that because of the years of practicing, I have brought my body to a level where I can just kind of say, okay, switch to that mode and I can play. It just works like that, right? So you were asking about what the new insight is. The new insight is or was, and now I've built a whole thing about it, and the book is going to come out soon, actually, in the middle of this year. We're going to have the book out, Touch Guitar Technique Volume 1, and it's based on the idea that because we have 8 fingers, right? And if you start a little melody like C, D, E, F, G, right? Something that's that melody that we can play this melody starting from all 8 fingers. So
and the fifth space. Yes. When you're showing the pentachord and
yes, exactly. So it's a development of the pentachords, right? Where the pentachords, the first finger was always the lowest note, but now the lowest note can be this, 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 or this. So there's 8 positions basically. So everything, and I call them brackets. So I don't use the word position because position, it feels like guitar. On touch guitar, there's no position because you always have to move. You always have to jump a little bit to get the attack, right? So position doesn't work as a word. So the word that I use is bracket. Bracket as like a mental thing and a physical thing. So you're assigning basically fingers to frets, and then you can start play the same thing with these 8 brackets. The 8 brackets, they are all physically different. You could start something, playing C, D, F, G here with the left hand, starting with the left hand here, or you can start here, starting with the right hand, C, D, E, F, G, right? And then you can do the same thing with the other 6 fingers, and that is the new system. And like when applied from the very beginning, so I have in my courses, I have every course there's usually 1 or 2 beginners. And so I have, in the last 4 years, I have seen people start with this concept. And it's fascinating because after just a week of working together, they have already kind of like an understanding of the instrument that in other people, like in the 90s or even in the 2000s, people who've been playing for 10 years, they didn't know where the notes were or how to play them or how to physically navigate the instrument, and also about the touch release move, about what is sort of the release is also a muting technique. It's not just about one note. It's about controlling the vibration of all the other strings of the instrument as well. There's something called the full release, which maybe I've also
you spoke about.
The full release, yes. So, but the full release can also extend to all the strings, right? So to use all your fingers to stop all the strings from ringing and things like that. And with the new system, all of that is built into the very beginning of playing little musical phrases. So it's mostly starting with the C major scale, because if you know where the notes of the C major scale are, you know where all the other notes are. And it's a really incredible system where physically every finger will be able to play all the notes at any time. And it is absolutely fascinating. And that's what I said earlier, that what I was dreaming about when I started with the stick, over 30 years ago, and it wasn't a reality. Now it's a reality. Like, it's a completely open system. It's a grid, like also the term that even Emmett Chapman used at the time. It's like a grid, right, of notes. And now I have sort of like completely cracked the system of the grid. And I call it the bracket, the chromatic bracket, it's called.
No, it makes more sense about it. And because position in a kind of way, as a guitarist, we see positions kind of box, almost like the box.
Yes.
Oh, this image, you're going to follow the diagram in this box, and the next one. When you approach this as a bracket, you can actually see more than his instrument. And I say, because as I was watching this series, I could feel something in the instrument that it's not that it's impossible from the free hands or Stickology from Steve Adelson that I also own it. And because it's something, how can I describe this? When you have the instrument in the playing position and have the two hands, most of the time when you hear the guitar, your approach like this is okay, but when you have the two hands, there's the sensation is more in the diagonal than the normal in the guitar.
Yes.
There's something in this speaking that I want to ask too, because when you develop the touch guitars from U8 to U10, as I was watching these lessons, it kind of got me interested also in the U8, who knows, sometimes. But when you have one flow, I'm going to describe this more easily for me, the flow of the tuning and the fifth tuning along all the strings in one direction, it kind of, how can I say, it simplifies also the motion, because when you get this instrument here, it is still the approach from the Chapman or the touch styles in the fifth tuning and the fourth tuning. And I wanted to ask about this, because it's kind of having two flows of the movement while also trying to find this point of the almost a balance point, a gravity point. Because when I saw the U8, it actually has more freedom to let the instrument more up front. And the Chapman Stick and other variations, because the movement is like opposed to the normal, you have to approach it more to your body.
So everything you mention here is basically what I discovered in the first few years with the instrument. I realized that there are certain limitations that arose because of the design, and part of the design was to have two strings tuned in fifth and in fourth, different directions, 10 strings. I have had a 10 string first and then a 12 string, and I realized, seeing people, that, like, in principle, you would think that these to have these options would open up the possibilities, right? More strings and more tunings will open, but it was the opposite. It was actually factually the opposite. What I was seeing in the world, what I was hearing people play, what they were sounding like, everything was getting worse. Right, like really, it wasn't getting better, and there were some good teachers there. Like I was Jim Lampy and Frank Jolliffe, some great teachers that I had, and a lot of people had them. So very, very good players, and both are dead by now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they were great people, and but I saw that it was so incredibly hard for players to just pick things up, and I realized, okay, why is this? What is happening? And I identified a few things for me, which were very simple. Like, okay, like you were saying, go for one tuning. If you want to have two regions on the instrument, if you want to have treble and bass strings, put both in fifth or put both in fourth, for example. Or if you can, if you want to just have, like me, I have just one set of strings, decide, a fourth or fifth, right? And then I was thinking about, okay, which tuning makes more sense when I play with two hands? So with the fourth tuning, one hand covers, because you need 5 notes per string, right? Five chromatic notes per string, basically, to move to the next note in the scale, let's say. Everything lines up with one hand. So I was thinking, okay, so if I want to really approach this one instrument with both hands, the fifth tuning makes sense, because then my 8 fingers, they cover 8 half steps, and 8 half steps are a fifth. So the coverage of 8 fingers of the 2 hands on one string are the same as between the strings, right? So, and that way things became very obvious to me that that's the way to go, because that way it was obvious that it would be possible to really gain a sort of understanding of the instrument like you would on a piano, where a piano is very visual, like you have the white keys, you have the black keys. So, and I wanted that for the touch instrument. And so by simplifying it to just be that one set of strings, tuned mostly in fifth with those 2 exceptions on the top, and then learning to know learning the tools to know where the white keys are, so the notes of the C major scale, right, completely opened up the whole instrument for a virtuoso improvisational style. I remember at the time, just before I got my first 8-string instrument, I was listening a lot to Keith Jarrett's improvisations, and I was not dreaming, but I knew, okay, and I want to have the ability to compose music in the moment like he does. Obviously, I didn't have a piano, so I wasn't expecting to have all the sustaining notes and things like that. That was not the idea. But the idea was to be able to compose in the moment, to have the freedom of choice, to know I can go to any note at any time with any of my 2 hands. I can play linearly, I can play things in parallel, I can play multiple parts at the same time, or I can just play one part and do it well. And then what happens with Stickman, which was great. So because at the time, like, there was still a big fight with Emmett Chapman going against every other touch instrument, right? And then me joining Stickman was like a big shock for the world, really for the tapping world, to have me with the Chapman Stick on the same stage. And I think that was really like the start of where peace was made, like we and that's what is so important and wonderful about Stickman. It's sort of like we're sort of a living example that it's about the music, and all the sort of like lots of bullshit about the tunings and things and stuff like that is really not important, right? So I mean, still, obviously, I have experience and you could say opinion, but in my case, it's more than an opinion. For me, it's not an opinion just because I have like 35 years of working with this stuff, right? So I know what I'm talking about, and the 5th tuning is really just wonderful for this instrument. Also, the 4th tuning is wonderful. So, and if you want to keep playing like your two region instrument, I would consider doing 4th and 4ths, really. If you want to play with one hand on a side, then you can really make progress. Then you can really start doing the like the two-handed the two-part inventions and things like that. You can kind of like work on Bach material in a nice way that on the 8-string instrument would be more labor intensive, right? But
well, it makes a lot of sense. I'm only restricting myself for the moment if the fifth and fourth tuning more about the empirical experience from the literature that I try to research.
Yes.
But
Yes.
of course, I agree with you. I also understand about this opinion thing because in the more sense, in the broader sense, each body is an individual experience. So there's
Yes.
some people. I remember when you spoke the fourth tuning in the both directions. I remember Rob Martino that works with this tuning, and he still has something like, I always forget, it's this 5/7 or 7/5 tuning strings, but no, it's wow, it's great to hear more about this because you really don't find so much reference in the textbooks and the
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no. Also because they were really so opinionated from the very beginning, and that was the problem. Like in a way, the idea that Emmett Chapman had was kind of cool in the beginning, but what happened then is that it turned into a set of things that worked, like a certain chord, like like this shape and that shape and this shape, which works to play chords on the bass strings, right? But then breaking out of those chords is almost impossible. And there's like a famous quote that Emmett Chapman said to Tony Levin that you cannot play scales on the bass side of the stick, which for Tony Levin was shocking to hear, right? It's not true. It doesn't make sense. But what Emmett Chapman meant was like, okay, you're supposed to play these 4 or 5 chord shapes with the left hand, and then you have your box with the right hand. You're only allowed to use 3 fingers, and you play the notes. And it's true, if you do it like that way, you can get very quick results. But that was what I was seeing, like after these quick results, to go beyond that, to do something else, that was literally impossible for people. And I would even go so far to say it's still impossible. Still, I have not seen or heard a single player using that technique to really play music that grabs me. And I mean, that may be an opinionated thing, right? It's okay, but for myself, I just wasn't happy with that. I had a broader vision, like the vision of more of a composer rather than a player. And I mean, also, it's important to know that I didn't ever want to become a player. It was never my plan.
Yeah, true.
It just happened because I had to find a way to perform my music, like, to get the things out, to get the compositions out.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
It happens a lot with the composers with electric instruments, specifically electric instruments.
Yes, absolutely.
In
And
Brazil,
I don't enjoy. I mean, I can play piano, right? And I can play it pretty well if I want to, but something's missing. Like with a keyboard or even with the synthesizer, it's horrible for me because like I have no expression, like no. Having had the experience with the classical guitar, where the immediate, like any little movement of the finger, it's the same with the touch instrument. Every single little movement of the finger translates into the expressiveness, let's say, or the variation of the tone you can get with the instrument. That was what I was interested in, and especially for the ambient music, because there was also a lot of ambient music out there that didn't sound organic to me, that was kind of dead in some way. And that's why I wanted to always have my fingers on the strings. That's why I've never used guitar synthesizers, really. No MIDI, since I've used guitar synthesizers, but like more analog style guitar synthesizers,
I understand that. That's a great point to also speak about this. Remember in the same time, there's a cassette that Emmett Chapman distributed the touch board to secret board in the 1986 that he approached MIDI. One thing that I think is amazing about Emmett is not necessarily only well, he got some breakthrough in these different flows of emotion, but there is something that we are speaking about. It's the expressivity of the sound and how he approached this Jimi Hendrix influenced style, and he used a lot of filtering, a lot this MIDI, and I kind of agree in a point, even though I am about 3 months about this instrument, but I totally see the barrier in this different flows of motion in the same instrument that you spoke about.
Yes.
And
so it's so very important to start out with the idea of using both hands to play one thing. So that's why if you start learning a Tony Levin riff or lick or something like that, it makes more sense to start there rather than starting with the free hands method, let's say. Because with the free hands method, it puts you in a sonic into a sonic box where everything is going to sound the same after 3 days, really. And so it makes more sense to actually start with a part that somebody else has written, you know, like a bass, Tony Levin bass line, for example, on stick.
Yeah, when I played Elephant Talk, for me it was so easy, relatively easy because that thing.
Yeah, because it is clearly a stick part, but it's also written as music, and that makes the difference, right? So, and for me, I wanted to have a completely clean slate for creating music. I didn't want any idioms. I didn't want any idiomatic stuff really on the instrument. I just wanted to be able one note beautifully. That's what I started out with, and I don't know. I mean, it's always like as a musician, like with my vision, let's say, I always feel extremely limited. Like I feel really extremely limited by the instrument and by everything. Like, you know, it's really, but that's also what drives me to keep going, to keep exploring, to keep learning new things, also to take on the challenge to perform challenging music live on stage in front of people. And the challenge is not so much even about the music; it's about how I feel inside. Because if I play a challenging, like a memorization exercise, even on stage, like a piece like Lux 4 or things like that, it's about how I feel inside, because I want to feel calm and confident and happy and in service of the music, let's say, as I'm performing. And I don't want to be forcefully moving my body in order to get those notes out. You know, that's never been my aim. And in that way, I've been a very disciplined guy all my life to actually work towards that aim, to have that freedom and personal satisfaction. It's a little bit like, I think, like athletes, you know, like when you see yourself doing some sort of gymnastics and you see you have made a perfect circle and you had a perfect rhythm, or, you know, it's about, and that's sort of what I love. And that's also what I really like about the original idea of the instrument that Emmett Chapman had. So I really love the instrument. I love all the idea of it. For me, it was just apparent very early on in the process for me that there were like these hurdles that were really difficult for people. And that's why I said for myself, I want to reduce it. I'm only going to do 8 strings, only going to do the 5th tuning. And I'm only going to start using the instrument as an ensemble instrument or as a solo instrument. But I wasn't mixing it up so much at the beginning, right? When I came to the 8th string. And now, like there was a time about 10, 15 years ago where I did all the two-handed things. So all the independence exercises, like playing melodies in whatever 11 and 13 at the same time, and all of these things, because I wanted to develop that part of my listening skills. Basically, you know, by learning to play something like that, you learn to hear it and to kind of feel it in your body, right? And that was important. But nowadays, like when I'm composing a piece or performing a piece, there may be some exceptions where something like that is part of a piece. But normally it's not. It's never about that. It's about the part. It's about the melody. It's about playing the harmonies beautifully, or well, you kind of like know the repertoire. I'm playing with both Tony and with Trey and Pat, right?
Yeah, that's in the end, it's everything about the expression of music that we all artists have.
Absolutely, and that's why it's true that there's no such thing as a wrong thing. It's in the end, it's about, are you satisfied with the music you're making? And like if you would come to me and say, Markus, I've spent like few years with this, and yeah, I'm not satisfied with what was coming out of it. Maybe then we can talk and I can help you. Because I think that's what it's about. But if you discover something that you're truly happy with, then obviously there's no need to change that. Right?
Yeah, no, it's people are gonna. I don't know if it's an exaggeration, because many things that you spoke right now really resonates with me in this exact moment. Since from the fall from ascension, fall to ascension, and this notion of music, it should resonate more. I think, in my opinion, I think it should resonate more. It's about being true with yourself most of the time.
Yes.
The music is a tool to an expression of ourselves. And there is one thing that I would like to ask about this approach in the educational thing. When you saw, it's something I was thinking about. We are talking about the textbook, how limited it is in the to find something educational. The touch-style instruments are still gonna make a century when you think about this perspective. So, in your course, there's are you working with the possibility of the hybrid lessons, like online and precision lessons? Because within the Sean Crowder series, what works so well that when I get someone who doesn't know the touch technique and still begin to learn, is there's a student, there's totally zero in this case, and you are teaching more, almost like a workshop in that kind of sense. Yeah. But it's an important question, because it's already hard to find some literature about it. And most of the time, when you see stick seminars, it's most strictly about going to the place, and you don't have the possibility to see the process online. So yes. I would like to know about this, your opinion on this, or if you are going to apply some time.
Okay, so first of all, I think so let me criticize maybe your idea about literature also. The problem really is with an instrument or a concept as new as the touch style, right? There is no way to understand anything about it without going through the process. So it's impossible not to go through the process. Everything else is just dreaming, and the negative dreaming, not good dreaming, right? That can be good dreaming. But that's really like, it doesn't really help at all. You have to do it. So that's why you either have to go to a seminar or you have to do an online lesson, let's say, right? And so at a seminar, for example, I have physical access to the student, so I can help physically. I can show you how to do these things, and it can be hands-on, which is great. So, but since, like this community is spread out across the world, I developed a system with doing online classes. Even I think I had my first online student in 97 or something, long time ago. It was with the text chat. So it was like, giving exercises with text chat, and then somebody had to report their experiences, and so I have a long history of doing this thing. So anyway, what I believe nowadays is that there are certain keys to solve problems that you can give to a student. And it's possible to give the keys to a student without being in the same room. So I could show you something, I could show you an exercise, let's say, and you could do it in front of me, like we don't have to be in the same room. But the exercise, I need to be sure, I pick the exercise because I know that if you do the exercise, you have no choice but to do things correctly. So there's no need for me to be in the room with you when I show you the process, like to use that word, the learning process. And if you agree to do the learning process with the material that I'm giving you, you can be 100% sure that you will get to the same result that you would get as if we were in the same room. And I think this is quite an achievement that in general the teaching world has made, that the teaching tools have gone from being offline to being online, right? I think some of the problems in online teaching are if people are using the same materials that they would use for offline teaching, but they use them online, and that doesn't sometimes, or really quite often, doesn't work. So what I'm saying is, if you come to one of my seminars, what we would be playing together in the seminar would be different because I'm there, and we can adjust things and so. But in the like distance teaching, like with online things, right, like Zoom or something like that, it is really about giving the right material that is very specific for you, for the situation, and for the problem that needs to be solved. And so the exercise is the key. And I give it to you. You have the key, and then you have the responsibility to put the key to make sure the key is clean, the lock is clean, to find the lock, to put the key inside the lock, and to turn it until you hear the click, another click. And so that click means maybe you have to practice for a week at 60 BPM, and then you do another week at 72 BPM. Then you switch to eighth notes. Then you do blah blah blah. So you have the click. It's almost like a safe that you have the combination. You have to find the combination you're turning, and you listen to the But I can give you the key. I can tell you what the numbers are. You have to dial in, but you still have to listen. You still have to go through the process of putting in the numbers, and at the end the door opens and you can go through, and you have reached like some sort of nirvana of that particular thing you wanted to learn. It works with technique. It works with physical technique. It works with mental things. It works with improvisation. It works with anything you want to learn.
No, I totally get it. It's really great to hear.
I hope that answered your question. I mean,
it answered a lot. Actually, no, I love to hear this answer because it's sometimes when it's like you're speaking here. There's most of the time it's a barrier that kind of I don't know. It kind of frustrates a lot when you get to this barrier, and we are on this online world, and sometimes we can find tapping communities really actually easy. Facebook, there's the Stickers forum, but sometimes I can still feel this educational barrier that when you try to find, for example, Free Hands is a relatively easy book to find. Stickology also, because it's as a online book. But when you try to go more beyond that, and I'm not talking necessarily learning the technique, it's about researching it also, this history, you kind of lose a lot of these things. I wanted to find something like Bob Culbertson, How did he approach this technique? There's a few examples, but it's really refreshing. Hear something about this in the sounds. Wow.
So I think that the book I'm working on can potentially change things a lot. I mean, obviously, people, like I say, this is important. You cannot do it without the process.
Yeah.
So just looking at the book does not help. Just reading the book does not help. Even if you understand what the concepts are, it does not help you actually do it. You have to physically do it. You have to go through everything in the way suggested, let's say, so that the technique or the cool thing, like with this new chromatic bracket system, it's not very strict. You can find your own way through it, but all you need to do is to apply the concept, right? But the concept is just like this online thing that I said. It works without me being there. As long as you do it, you are in control of it yourself, and you can even come up with your own materials, let's say, and you apply the concept, and you will become. And I'm not joking about this. Like, anybody who's serious right now to start and starts with my concept, you're going to be the best player in the world. Like, there's no question about it. And I know a lot of people know that. A lot of people that have worked with me and work with me know this. Right, but unfortunately, we still don't have like the young, motivated player who wants to do this.
Yeah,
and it's also because of all the confusion with which tunings to use and blah blah blah. And that's why I think like people should just get over that and start with the tuning. Like, start with 8 strings. Start with the 5th tuning, because like if you have that down, you can go to any tuning. You can go to 17 strings or whatever. Like, if you have like the basic understanding of it, if you have the physical approach down, right, then you can do anything you want, and you can do all the crazy dreams you have. But the problem is that most of the time, and it's a sign of our times, even more than ever before, is that people prefer dreaming over doing. And so process, right? Process is important, right?
Yeah,
actually doing it.
Yeah, when you say about this process, it's much easier, at least from what I'm seeing at this moment. It's easier to see the fingerstyle community because you have so many possibilities in all 6 strings. Actually, even though it's not the tapping technique in the main thing, but you see so many possibilities. Only changing some tunings, approach of percussive style, like John Gom, Alexander Misko. I hope I said his name right. But the tapping community, in a certain sense, it's like you said, there's this frustrating barrier. Okay, the tuning is something different. Okay, but it's just a part of this.
It's kind of a joke. Also, I really have to say, like people get so caught up in these questions, like how should it be tuned? No, before you ask that question, you actually play. You actually put your finger on a string, right? And one string is enough. Like most of the things that you can do, like with the pentachord, let's say, you can play all the pentachords on one string. You can go up and down, you can play them, you can learn to really know where the notes are, and then you take the next string. It doesn't matter if it's a 4th away or 5th away. It doesn't matter as long as you know what the notes are. So it's really, so people are so concerned with something that is just a secondary, or not even secondary. It's much lower on the list, really, what the tuning is. Yeah, I mean, I'm just being, in a way, just very vocal about it, because as I've said, I've seen so many people fail, and I think it's sad, because I love the idea. I love the idea of the Chapman Stick. I still remember how I fell in love with the idea, and I think it's fantastic and it's wonderful. And if anybody's interested in it, you should definitely start it. You should get an instrument, and then you should just start getting lessons, with somebody who knows what they're doing, and you need to start learning to play one thing with both hands. And that's the starting point. And
Totally.
you need to listen to what the notes sound like to get a good tone. And then you move to the next string. And like I said, it doesn't matter which tuning that is, which pitch the open string is. Oh, and we need to remember that on a touch instrument, really, we have no open strings. So even talking about the tuning in that regard is kind of ridiculous. Because every string is its own instrument in a way. And it can be tuned in C, it can be tuned in G, or it can be tuned in F sharp. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree with this.
Yeah. So
no, it's empirically saying is many people, when I got the basic exercise that you spoke online, the family, the Pentecost, the silent rose, when you physically feel with the touch instrument, it really, I can't describe really exactly how is this moment. It's impossible to describe. You have to experiment in this sense.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. Simple question. Any Brazilian gonna ask when you're coming to Brazil?
Yeah, that's a great question. Unfortunately, we were going to be in Brazil, but it didn't work out. We didn't find the right promoter. Yeah, we were supposed to be there in this March.
This March?
Yes, we were supposed to be there in 6 weeks. We were supposed to play in. Well, I don't know where you are, but Brazil is very big, right? But
I'm from Rio de Janeiro.
Oh, you're from Rio. Okay. So we were supposed to play in Sao Paulo and Porto Alegre, I think, but it didn't happen. So.
Oh man.
Yeah. No, it's been difficult. There was a time when it was easy for stickmen to come and play. We played in Brazil a few times, maybe 3 tours. I think I was there 3 times, maybe.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Nowadays, it's become much harder. Yeah. In Argentina alone, we had 16 shows. I think maybe not 16, 12 or something. Like the very first time we were there with stickmen, we played that many shows, and things have just gotten so much harder. And I guess we know why also. So.
Yeah, many reasons, many reasons why.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. This question is not only being a fan asking about this; is really to understand the logistics of it all. Because in Niterói, for example, we see sometimes the prog rock festivals here. Last year happened. Prog Rock Festival. I don't know how would be the demand of the place for you guys, but it would be really interesting.
Was it the theater where Stickman played also? We played in Niterói in 2017 with David Cross.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I mean, it doesn't matter, but
no,
anyway,
okay.
I mean, we would love to come, and we're always, and I'm also always available to come. I think it's just this is another part of what we're talking about process. Processing actually means to walk, to go, right? And I think with any career, with anything that where you're supposed to learn something, you have to go somewhere. You have to do it. You can't just expect to be in one place and become somebody. I mean, this is sort of like the illusion that the internet gives people, right? That they can be they can be an Instagram star, guitarist star, but it just doesn't stop there. You have to at some point, you have to get going and go onto a stage or meet people or travel to a trade show like so many people do nowadays. But a lot of people that are famous on the internet, they've never really played a concert on stage and things like that. Right? And I'm not. It's okay, it's just it's a new thing, it's a different thing. But I'm just saying that if the real life experience, if the actual doing the thing is not part of your life, it will lead to, as you were saying, horrible frustration. And feelings of failure and self-hate. So that's why it is so important to just get going on doing something, and go out the door, meet people, don't stay at home, don't stay on the internet, what it's like. Even with your instrument, you have the new instrument, and I always did that from the very beginning. I had no technique, I couldn't play, but I went and played with other people. Like every week, at least 2 sessions I went to. Like one session with like free improv group, and one session with my friend Bernhard, and we are Zentrozone together. We have this band, and so I always started doing things, talking about shows, right? So I'm always happy to come to Brazil. I would love to come again.
Oh, yeah, we would love to receive you here. I'd love to meet in person. Is something like it's what you said. Is not only music but art. It's a collective experience.
Yes.
The internet is kind of connect us in a certain sense as we are speaking right now, but there is this danger of the self-isolation. And in this process of isolation is the hatred from yourself, and it's something that resonates a lot. I got the instrument in this sense that I was even in the bass, in the guitar, and other instruments. I think I'm not finding not only the certain expressiveness that I wish to. But I'm trying to find what is my way to connect to other person, to play for other person. And it doesn't matter if it's a touch instrument, wind instrument, whatever. It's such in the way to find yourself within the collective society. In the even the artists, whatever.
So, but you see, there are 2 aspects to this that. Again, sometimes people are not aware of this. So as first of all, you yourself, you're also collective.
Yeah.
You are also collective. So you're part of the collective, but you're also collective here. So that means that you have to find a balance of the work of this collective and the outside and with you inside collective, right? So, and that's the trick. That's really the trick to understand, okay, yes, I go out and play with people, but I also go home and I walk the walk at home. I practice something.
Yeah.
I take the literature, I read it, and I practice for myself. And if my friend calls me and says, hey, you want to come out and play billiard, tonight? And you say, yes, I'll come, but in 2 hours. Because you want to finish your practice. You finish your practice, then you go and meet your friends. And that's the balance you have to find. You have to be really honest with yourself and say, okay, I have this aim to become a good painter, a good touch guitar player, a good whatever, and you need to spend your time working with your own collective, which is made up of so many different parts in your mind, in your body even, is made of so many different parts. And you kind of like work with this collective for some time, and then you work with the outer collective for some time, and you have to find a balance. And if you manage to do that, then you will be a complete person.
No, it's
not possible to be a complete person in that sense, because you can't do everything, right? So there's always going to be some nerdiness involved, and like, okay, you're a specialist for whatever, Yeah.
No, it's true. It's really true. The perception is really something crucial. It's really most of the time crucial. And that's why I insist a lot in this education, because the education is another act from collectiveness we have. It resonates if other persons than ourselves is something when I, for example, got a basic exercise that you taught Sean in the lesson, I was thinking to myself, okay, fourth tuning, I'm kind of familiar. Let's see the fifths. I played in the guitar craft a little bit before, so okay, kind of familiar. All right, let's try this. And I'm like, man, this is different. I can't. I'm still struggling with the pentachords. And what is the name of the exercise? There's I think the Yoko exercise. Oh, no, centipede. I'm still struggling with the centipede. It's something basic, but it's like it's foundation of the thing. You can feel how much important is feeling the string along yourself. I worked with the brackets in the both fifths and fourth tuning. Even though you start in the fifth side, try to experiment how it would work in the fourths. And it's more transversal than the boxing that we talking before in the position perspective.
Yes. And now imagine you would have twice as much time to work on the fifth or on the fourth tuning if you would not work with the other tuning.
Yeah, that is the question I'm thinking about more and more in my practice.
But because like, I'm not saying that it could be cool if you have enough time, let's say, right? It's if you have twice as much time as everybody else, it's fine. It could be fine, but it's also much more confusing. It's like the children I see here who grow up with like a Japanese mother and Hungarian father, and they live in Germany here in Berlin, right?
Yeah.
So the child is like confused. Like, but when they are 20 years old, yes, they can speak 3 languages or 4 languages because they also learn English and French and Spanish, 6 languages, right? When they're 20, and they are going to be amazing. But they have to have 20 years. And if you want to learn whatever, like Brazilian Portuguese and quickly, you're not learning Japanese and Hungarian at the same time.
Yeah, you have to focus on that.
Yeah, so that's why. And this is why it's so amazing. But then when you have the experience, okay, now I can speak with somebody in Portuguese, right? After 2 years, let's say, I'm very good. We can talk in Portuguese, and I say, okay, now I learn to play in fourth. So you start with fifth, and then you make 2 years of that, and you can play. And they say, okay, now I want to learn in fourth. You do it, but you don't do it at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I know.
If you do that in sequence, it can make sense. It can be fine. It can kind of add to the overall knowledge of movement and and things like that. And knowing your way around the fretboard. But in a way, if you think about it, how incredibly confusing it is, like to on an instrument tune in fifth and fourth. I have this experience. I've had this a lot of times that I asked a player, "Can you please play an A, or can you play a C?" It takes 30 seconds for them to actually find those notes. Even people who are kind of the way you would think they know it, they're getting confused. And I know it's even for Tony sometimes. Like Tony sometimes is cursing about it, Like he says, "Oh my God! Like I started in B flat, but it was in C or something like that." It happens all the time because with the too many strings and the two tunings, it'll never be natural, unfortunately.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. Is what I'm researching more and feeling more about this is exactly this. It's not natural in a way. It's not the problem. Like you said, the concept of itself is not the problem. It's kind of it's exciting when you see the concept, but in the practice, you feel there's like we say, this barrier is unnatural in the sense that you can't develop yourself after a certain point. That is the danger that builds the frustration of this question.
And again, it's really about what people want. is also what about what people want. So if it's okay to just develop your own thing, your own little world, where it's not important that if somebody asks you to play an A to know what an A is, then it's also fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to become a musician as a place of freedom, let's say, right, or of being able to, I don't know, like I'm, if you ask me, I could play a bossa nova, like why would I play bossa? But I can, right? I can.
Uh-huh.
So you know what I mean.
No.
So it's really just about the flexibility, and like nowadays, like I say, especially with these new platforms where people can present themselves, it's not so much anymore about being well-rounded, let's say, as a player or as a human being. It's really about like doing one thing and being flashy at that. But it's like a house of cards, though, like it's, you push one card and everything breaks down, and that's what leads to sort of mental suffering. So that's why I'm not 100% sure that how things are developing for young people who, I think young people nowadays are just amazing generally, right? But I know some people are also kind of like, shall I say, blinded by the presentation of some people. Some people are presenting themselves, and especially in music, yes, and also like for thinking about women, like what the images they see of other women, how they are supposed to look and stuff like that. I think it's not healthy.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a great point. It happens a lot. I see many colleagues from the university and some others university also. There's almost the sense of I try to describe something like a crystallization of an ideal musician in the areas, whatever that means. But this crystallization, this crystal that people see, is beautiful. But the light of it is blindness, like you said, and really, that's most of the time is something that isolates more yourself, everything yourself. You can't connect with the craft or the even the most important thing, the part is enjoyment.
There are some people that are not really interested in being artistic, let's say, and other people that are want to be artists, and being being an artist sometimes means that you are really very different from how everybody else is, and it's also okay. It's okay to not be the well-rounded musician in the sense that you can do everything. That's not what it's about. I'm really like talking about at the core, at the foundation. You want to be sort of like a like people say, like the blank slate, or like a tabula rasa or something like that, But that's not even what I mean. Like it needs to be a little bit even more like that. It needs to be sort of like the tabula rasa is like a shiny surface, is like a chrome plated table or something that represents who you are. So it's your table. Like my table is different than your table, but they need to be clean. They need to be, you know what I mean? They need to be
exactly
clear of things, right? So, but my table is very different from your table. And it's important that if you have artistic wishes, that you develop your table. That like your table has 3 legs, mine has 2, or whatever.
Yeah, but works for each of us. You have 2 legs on the table, but You can
Yes.
do your craft on that.
Yes,
No, it's man. These things it's like I was talking a lot about which questions I should ask to use, because most of the time, even speaking from experience, we have to look at these things on a foundation. We can't resume music as or any other art or whatever things, engineering, about the technique of this thing. There's still the human process of this, human perspective, and influences a lot to us.
you see, arts, like in arts education, right? There is obviously like the school where people learn the technique of how to draw, let's say, or they learning actual techniques of how to do things. But real arts teaching is not concerned with how to do things. It's concerned with the artistic, the will of the individual to actually create art. It's about the conceptual, about the ideas. It's about the passion. It's about also like in fine arts, about the justification. Like you write a little text that explains why and what this means, or something like that, right? So it's really much more than something that is purely technical. Same with musical improvisation. You don't have to know anything to improvise musically. Like any little child can sit at the piano and make noise, and that's music, and that's improvisation. That's what it is. And everybody can do that. Like your grandmother that has never in her life touched a musical instrument, she can take a guitar and play and strum the strings, and it will be music. It will be improvised music in that moment. It will be experimental, yes, but experimental music is fine. It's just as accepted as somebody playing a jazz standard and improvising on the chords. Like I prefer your grandmother playing the guitar over the jazz standard.
Yeah. It's amazing. Oh man. Oh, it's strong. It's strong phrasing about this. Man, no, I totally agree on this. It helps me. Speaking more personally about this, because it really helps a lot to relieve this tension. That it's like you said. I know there's a much younger generation. I made 30 years yesterday. And
Congratulations.
thank you. Man, when you see, I don't know, 13 years old, 15 years old playing polyphia, I don't know, something like that. It's no, man, this it's great how much we are evolving in this sense of technique. But this, so I want to say, community perception is what we need to work about more in this time.
Yes.
That's why I think I ask a lot about the touch circle, how working within this touch circle helped also with your expression of playing, if you're yourself. I think it's really not trying to exaggerate in any time. It's what I was talking with the Progland. I think it's more interesting to know how did you build this process of putting yourself in this community than the inside of yourself, in the technique sense from inside of yourself.
In the end, what is important to me, that I still keep making music, and it's very difficult. You can imagine it's very difficult to, even though I have the opportunity to tour but it's very difficult to make a living of that. I would say even impossible, so I have to kind of make a lot of concessions to, like being away from the family and things like that, and sort of like living an unhealthy life sometimes when I'm on the road, so like the balance for me there is to still do things that satisfy me, that make me happy, musically. So musically speaking, making a new record there where I really enjoy the music, where I enjoy the process, both as the process and the result. I'm working on a new solo record, which is sort of like a new concept for me. Basically, it's pieces I've written on the piano, and I went to Los Angeles to record with Chad Wackerman and Yannick Guistella and Mitch Foreman, 3 really great jazz and jazz rock players, really. And I wrote this music that is like very emotional, melodic, simple in a way, and I'm enjoying very much to sort of like find this kind of like new expression that has no pressure whatsoever of being anything other than what I am, So, and that's the working title of that project is Bella Musica, because the idea is to just kind of like accept the fact that I love music and music is beautiful for me, and that I want to make beautiful music just for myself, really.
Man, I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's something I can identify a lot, really. I'm almost at this same moment also with my own craft. I'm trying to find this enjoyment from my own craft, and I can't wait to hear your results, man.
Thank you. Yes.
It's really more than a pleasure, man, to have this talk.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, stay the same to you, because I never imagined I could have this moment right now. I really hope. I don't know if there's in some time I want to. There's a project I want to do more in the academic sense in the touch-style instruments. Maybe you can stay in touch when I develop more in this area.
Of course. Always.
And wow, I can't thank you enough, man. If the song, man, it's really, really rich and really. Oh, my cat. He also expresses his opinion. He loved it.
Thank you, cat.
Well,
yeah, so
really important as an artist. And when many things you spoke to me, I'm trying not to get too emotional, but really resonates in a sense that I wish I could heard, and some years ago, and I think it's gonna help resonate with some artists. What you were speaking today, I hope it connects somehow, and really we can hear more from your own music, Stickman music, and hope somebody in the comments say, okay, we're gonna crowdfunding Stickman to come to Brazil because we need it.
Yes.
Oh, the place is a problem. No, come on, crowdfunding. We need it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'm totally with you. That's how we need to do things these days, to make things happen.
Yeah.
It's like we say, with the community, right? That's what we have to do. Yeah, absolutely. The AI is not going to help us do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Not gonna replace human in some years, in many years,
Yes.
maybe ever.
Yes. Okay, man. Thank you so much, and
Thank you very much.
see you soon.
See you soon. Thank you, man.
Yes.